My name is Pradeep Valsankar, and my question is to Pawan. Pawan, as usual, your talk nearly frightened me off the eGov space. I started reconsidering whether one should remain in this space or not. But that aside, I have specific, can I request you to kindly elucidate what are specific legal connotations on two eGov ideas which are now mushrooming a lot. One is electronic tendering, because a lot of procurement in the eGov space is happening through electronic tendering. And coupled with that is electronic payments, because a lot of payments are now going up and down. Can you just elucidate what are the major legal connotations with these two entities?
Thanks, Pradeep. Well, let me begin by the first portion of your question on electronic tendering. Electronic tendering is today legal in our country by virtue of the IT Act. However, merely putting up a tender electronically does not mean that your electronic tendering is legal. You will need to ensure that your electronic tendering process complies with the requirement of Section 4 of the IT Act, which talks about the legality of the electronic format and the process. In case if you are using electronic authentication in your electronic tendering process, please make sure that your electronic authentication is complying with the requirements of Section 5 of the IT Act, which deals with authentication only by one specific technology, namely asymmetric crypto system and hash function. Alternatively, you can subscribe to the digital signature certificates which are issued by any of the licensed certifying authorities which have been so licensed by the controller of certifying authorities. A bigger question for you is, when is the contract concluded during your electronic tendering process? That is a question of fact and not of law. Will really depend upon the time the contract or the tender hits your server. Important thing to consider will be the location of your server. In case if your location of your server is outside India, then you could have trouble under the Indian law, primarily because there can always be arguments that the server is outside India and hence not amenable to IT law. In addition, the bigger question is, are you retaining the logs of the relevant people who are doing the electronic tendering on your system? The next number is, well, is there any deficiency of service? How about your server blogging or suddenly blocking up and choking up and not accepting tenders at 2:59:59 when the closing time is 3 p.m.? So those issues will have to be looked at. We've already seen some big electronic tendering. Litigation hasn't begun, but in electronic tendering too, the law is currently requiring you, both as the legal entity who's doing electronic tendering, to do your due diligence. Because in case if any of the parameters of the law are not fulfilled, any aggrieved vendor can go ahead and get this electronic tendering process cancelled or set aside. Your second question was on electronic payments. Electronic payments in our country are happening in a big way. Currently, they are all happening under the umbrella of the Reserve Bank of India. There is no specific law which legalizes electronic payments. The IT Act 2000 is silent on electronic payments. The proposed amendments are silent on electronic payments. And currently, your electronic payments are merely contractual obligations between different stakeholders, whether it's you, the bank, and the credit card agency. And if you look at the contracts, most of these contracts invariably are so much tilted in favor of the banks and the credit card agencies that you virtually have no choice. But I think till such time we don't have across a national legislation, we will have to continue with this. But the system is working fine. The RBI is maintaining some bit of its controls. But yes, we still need to evolve. But these are some initial thoughts. Of course, we can sit offline and take this forward. Thanks.
See, it's for Professor Krishnamurthy as well as Mr. Pawan Duggal. Can we have a data which says that how many attack has happened in last 12 months in NIC network? That is the data that I'm looking for. What kind of attack that has happened? That's number one. And two, Mr. Duggal is do you have the data over the amount of cases on crime? How many has been convicted? How many has been registered? And what is the amount of conviction? Like, if suppose I really want to get into the Taj Bengal hotel network today, what is the fear that I should have that I will not go for? The data, like what I'm looking for the data, like what is the maximum conviction has happened till date and the crime, that's all.
Okay, let me put your question and I'll take the second portion. I'll answer somebody to the first and give it to Dr. Subramaniam. Second portion, how many cybercrimes in a country? The reported cybercrimes are just a couple of hundreds. How many convictions in the country? 2. The first conviction I got done in the year 2003. That was for online cheating by a call center employee here in Noida. And the victim company was Sony. We got this guy arrested, and this guy was convicted for online cheating, not under the IT Act, but under 420 Indian Penal Code for cheating. The second conviction has just taken place a couple of months back in Tamil Nadu for online obscenity. A former boyfriend took the picture of his former girlfriend, morphed it on a nude picture, circulated it to her family members. He was convicted for online obscenity. Barring that, no conviction. How many cybercrimes take place? There are no scientific figures. However, I did a study last year to find out how much underreporting was taking place. And we found out that for every 500 instances of cybercrime that take place in India, only 50 get reported. And out of 50, 1 gets registered as an FIR. So it's a 1:500 ratio, and I believe, being a practitioner in this field, these are conservative figures. The actual figures will be far more. As regards the first part of your question, how much is the data available? Yes, this data is with this authority called Computer Emergency Response Team of India, CERTIN. But for more details, over to Dr. Subramaniam.
I think the CERT site is also giving a statistics of how many sites have been defaced or abused or whatever that is used. But quantum of abuse is not there. It's only number of sites reported as abused or illegal used or thing has been reported in the statistics. That is available, I think, up to the time. Current is online statistics available. But the problem, as Pawan has said, is I was in the Coimbatore recently last week on the police for training for the inspectors and others of the 5 districts of the Coimbatore districts. And we found that every day there are cases reported, but they don't know how to classify it under the cyber law or non-cyber law. But police have got the kind of wider classification mechanism by which they can always do it in the classification of the case registration. Case diary is one, the FIR is next one. So case diary there are many. In fact, on the day when we were there was a case reported saying that some younger bachelor was staying in one house and he left everything open. His owners have used his credit cards, his owners used bank accounts, everything has been transacted, but he left the house and he found that every money is gone. Then he went and reported to the police. Then owners also not owners, these are tenants actually. They also vacated the house. So now the problem where to go because outside the jurisdiction of the Coimbatore district, the police is somewhere else, the owners are somewhere else, but the fraud has happened in Coimbatore. So really I think incidents of fraud are a kind of activities generated there or incidents where they are staying, how to arrest them is a kind of complex set of issues. But I think as he says, the statistics of number of cases or cyber cases is only a guesstimate. Is not available as anywhere. But if you ask for a police station, maybe a lot of reporting has been started doing it now. But really the case has to be investigated, found acceptable, then only the case diary is made. And only when the case diary is made, the investigation starts, then to go to the FIR level. Then only it goes to the court. But really I think complex is what he said about land pata is given. Is evidence act of acceptable as a near original, there's a kind of things. And unless it's authenticated by electronic signature, it is not acceptable in court of law. So really I think there are kind of things where we are trying to do the kind of loopholes, but there are a lot of gray areas where we are doing. Second thing which you raised is a kind of hacking and cracking, which is I think the IT Act does not clarify. Hacking is an offense in this country as the IT Act is concerned. But really there are a lot of IDS services being done by the country, anti-hacking services done by the country, whether for outsiders or for insiders. Really on the IDS they have been protected, but not on the kind of anti-hacking. So really I think the kind of thing what you call a service is a kind of thing